Hey, my Travel Wins podcast. I'm lucky to have Kiki Wong. How are you today, Kiki?
Hey, going good. How are you?
Doing excellent. Kiki has one of the most diverse backgrounds of a guest I've had on my show. So let me see if I can get this right. You're a musician, author, traveler, a newly formed podcaster, and Muay Thai fighter.
Yes, you did your research. Yes. Yes, it's been kind of a crazy road. But I think, being able to just say yes to all kinds of opportunities kind of leads you to a hodgepodge of different experiences, but they all have meaning and purpose. And I think,
absolutely.
Yeah, so it's been great being all these different characters to see, different perspectives on the world.
Well, the reason I was super excited to talk to you today was about your book, but, the 30-Day Travel Challenge book. And But then I was like, oh, well, she also traveled the world as a musician. Oh, she did some modeling. Oh, she's starting a podcast. I'm like, oh my God, she's doing way too much. I feel like a slacker.
No way, no, never feel like a slacker. I am just out of my mind and I drink a lot of coffee. So.
What have you enjoyed the most so far?
Honestly, I think it was an interesting experience probably doing music first. I was actually going to school at the time in college to become a doctor. So, I did the traditional Asian way of life and go to school, get your degree, go to be a doctor, make all the money and prosper and live life, And I actually met Kyla, who's my business partner now and the singer of our band at the time. And she had a jewelry line. So I was like, okay, I did a little modeling gigs here and there just to get some extra cash in college. And then I put in my profile that I played guitar. And she was like, oh, you play guitar? I have a band. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's probably some garage band, we'll set up our amps and jam it out and then call it a day. And then she invites me over for our first practice. And it's in a studio with a producer. It's an official meeting. And I was like, what? This is crazy. This is Hollywood,
You're like, I made it, and I haven't even started.
Yeah, I was like, this is out of control. And so, I started doing that while I was working, while I was taking 19 units at school. It was crazy, but it was fun. It was exhilarating. And then I started working. I got my degree. I started working at UCLA Medical Center with stroke, Alzheimer's, and dementia patients. So I was working there for about a year. And then we get a call saying, hey, you booked a tour in China. This is a huge opportunity. And I was like, oh. So I was faced with this big situation where I had to make a big decision because my boss was like, that's awesome, but you can't work here. And I was like, okay, I'm going to quit. So I quit my job on the spot and the tour got canceled. So I was like, okay, well, now I'm left with no job. And so eventually that led to all types of weird things to support my music career. So I did all kinds of crazy jobs. And I think that kind of created that mentality where you just have to say yes to everything and try everything and hope for the best and just perform the best of your ability in whatever it is that you're faced with. But music was crazy.
I'll tell you, the one thing I found out completely blown away by interviewing people on this podcast is how many people that they are successful, but you would think, oh, they're so successful at their A job that's what they do. And then you end up talking to them well, I do this and I do this and I do this. And I mean, I'm talking NFL players, that you go, God, they got it made. And they're like, well, I'm modeling. I've got an apparel line. I'm doing some nonprofit work. I'm doing, I'm like, oh, so you're not just playing football in the NFL. You have 4 other real jobs.
Absolutely. I think that diversification of your abilities can lead to other opportunities too. And it's important. I also strongly believe, too, that, funneling and harnessing your ability to become very good at one craft. There's something really romantic about that. Maybe it's because I'm so crazy and all over the place. But I do see, I totally agree. A lot of entrepreneurs, they've got their, fingers dipped in all kinds of jars. So I think it's just a busy mind that needs to be kind of, stimulated at all times.
Well, one thing I want to ask you, too, is where do you think your intensity comes from? In your focus?
I'm still trying to figure that out. I've always been really intense in everything that I do, but I'm also not very structured. So You know what I mean? It's just really strange. But I think my intensity comes from, you know, I just like, I'm not a very social person. Most people don't realize that. So I like to invest my time and effort into things or skills or types of things to learn. So, you know, as somebody would probably go to a party and meet somebody and build a relationship, I'm more like I would spend that time honing in my skill on something or listening to someone's podcast or something like that. So maybe that's where I'm intense, like all my energy just goes into learning something rather than, you know.
You know, to be honest with you, I'm the same way, and my younger daughter's the same way. You know, everyone's like, oh, because I have a sales job, and my territory is California and Hawaii, so I travel around 4 times a year selling clothing, and everyone's like, oh, you're so outgoing, you're so social. I'm like, no, not really. I go, I am for my job, and but I did a personality test for a job I had like 15 years ago. And I ended up being a C personality, which is a sit back and watch.
Ooh, interesting.
And they said that like comedians you would think would be A, extroverts, but they're actually all C. Most of them are all C personalities because they're observationalist. And they said that a lot of the comics and their humor will change when they can no longer be a viewer because everyone's watching them. That's
interesting. I would totally agree with that. You know,
Go ahead.
Oh no, just because when comedians, you see how they're very, very it's a very intellectual type of situation happening, and I can never be a stand-up comedian, but they probably have to be excellent observationalists to understand what their audience really wants. So, and then also when you go up on stage, you can become a different character, so you don't have to feel like you're yourself.
Yeah, and they can be that person for that, 15 minutes or an hour or whatever, and then go back and like they said that it was really interesting because that's how I perceive myself as, Eddie Murphy can no longer be as much of an observationalist because everyone's watching him when he goes out into the public. Everyone's watching him, so he can't watch people in their natural state because they're always going, oh, that's Eddie Murphy. Oh. And I was like, oh. So it changes. So I don't know.
Yeah. And it must be hard.
I'm very similar to them, and my younger daughter's like myself, and then my older daughter is turning 26. Is not. She's the outgoing kind of blah blah blah. And my younger daughter's like me. So, and we get very focused. Like I saw one thing where you'd rather get into WordPress than, and I'm like, oh, okay, because I've done my own website, I've done all my own editing. I'm like, oh, I can figure it out. Just give me.
And you had to learn. Yeah, I love that. So you basically, as we were talking earlier, you basically had to learn all of your skill sets by yourself. But there's something more like satisfying almost when you are able to like learn the process, complete it, and then you have a result like a website or a podcast from it. It's like yeah, I built that myself. There's more connection to the results, I think.
Yeah, that's also a limiting factor that I have to realize that I have in myself. Yeah. Because the hours I spent on my website and editing, I could be doing so many other things, but I don't know.
I find that I totally agree with you because my business partner Kyla and I, we work together. She's amazing. She's like everything that I cannot do. So she knows how to tell people to do this, do that, do that. I'm like, I can funnel all of my energy into a project, but I need to be told when to do it. But I will spend hours and hours on websites and like the technical aspects of things, and I won't stop. I can sit there and look up and 8 hours have gone by and I haven't even like drank any water and I'm still trying to figure out how to edit a video or something like that. It's pretty bad, but
no, it's bad and good because I hope.
Yes. Because here's the thing. I figure that the time invested, you spend the 8 hours or 9 hours or however many, and then once you have it, you've got that skill set ingrained in your mind. So now you can use that and apply it to different things. And I think also with podcasting and video editing and content creation, they all kind of layer in together because, editing audio is very similar to editing video. Editing video is very similar to taking photos and images and editing images. So then, basically have an arsenal of different content creation that you can, use to market your business.
And there we go.
Yeah, there you have it.
And done. So easy.
Yeah.
Where was I 20 years ago? Oh, the internet was You're obviously younger, but have you noticed a big change? Like, you started traveling when you were really young, and, for the band. Did you notice the difference in using apps and technology, even in the, 7 or 8 years that you were touring?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. So it's crazy. I'm 30 years old, so I was like, kind of like, there was a time where we still had the dial-up. I was really young. I was pretty young, but I remember like the AOL, like dial-up noise and everything. And, for me, I like grew up getting the internet, like before the internet, after it, but I was still pretty young. So I got to see a pretty decent transition, but I also got to grow up learning how to use some of the digital tools and stuff like that. So it was like just enough integrated where I could kind of like adapt pretty quickly. But I did notice such a significant difference when we were touring. We started touring in around 2010, and like Instagram hadn't even been developed yet.
No, that's YouTube had just been out.
Yes, YouTube. Oh gosh, I like didn't, and I hate about myself. I was reluctant to actually try those types of things at first. I don't know why. I was like, I don't want to use YouTube. I'd rather just read about it. I don't know why I thought that. I was like, I wish I had more integration with it. But what happened with Instagram, now Instagram is like the biggest social media tool out there. And now I actually help small businesses with their social media and mostly focused on Instagram, which is ironic. But we created accounts, when the thing came out, and we just didn't really know how to use it. So for years, our account was just garbage. And I actually went and tried to archive some content. And I have like pictures of me taking pictures of like food that's in, the dark. Like you can't even see it. It's like, here's a piece of food that's half eaten. And here it, like, oh gosh, I just cringe thinking about it, And like, obviously we can always look back and think, man, I wish I had, made it like this. It's easy to think that, but I do wish a little bit that we had invested more time in the moment. So now, whenever any new type of social media comes out, I'm like, I'm going to jump on it. I'm going to do it, because you never know what's going to be the next Instagram. But yeah, I think Instagram really helped us. Like there was a point where we were touring, we didn't really have that much social media. And then when we're touring, like we could post a Facebook status, like our van broke down 6 times once because our tire blew out in the back. Oh God, that was like one of the scariest moments. We spun out 3 times in a van with like thousands of dollars of worth of equipment in Oklahoma City at 2 a.m.
Nice,
and we're
flat,
like, okay,
middle of nowhere,
which is, in that sense, it was good. Bad part is we called AAA. They're like, oh, the only states that we don't service is Hawaii and Oklahoma. I was like, no. So we had to be somewhere in like 2 days, and we were driving across to get to Ohio. And then what happened was when the tire blew out, it blew out the air or the coolant lining. So whenever we turned the van on, it would basically overheat, which caused us to break down like 6 or 7 times. We missed our first show, which was our biggest guarantee. It was a nightmare. It was crazy. But because we had social media, we were able to say like, hey, anyone can help us, it would be great. So we had a lot of fans come through and, like buy us food and like, give us tips off of where to take our car and all kinds of stuff. So it was definitely useful. But it was.
I could have used that.
Yeah, right?
I broke down. Let's see, we were going from Denver up to Wyoming, Gillette, Wyoming, for a rodeo.
Oh, nice.
And we broke down, and there was, it was a 35-mile round trip just to go to the next off-ramp, and then you turn back and then come back again. It was 35 miles.
Oh, no.
It was like, motherfucker. There was nothing out there.
Were you able to get a tow truck or anything?
No, it was a flat tire, and so we fixed it. We ended up breaking part of the trailer to get the spare off because we didn't know how to get the spare off.
Oh, wow.
And so we broke part of the trailer, which we had to pay for, of course. It was just, like it's one of those stories that I can share 10 years later going, oh, damn it.
And the moment you feel like you're going to rip your hair out. It's like,
oh, yeah. At the moment I wanted to quit. Shit. F this job, I'm not making enough money for this, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
Hours. And then, just like you, we got in late. When you go to a rodeo, you have times to set up your booth and all that. Well, we were late. So I was like, well, you can't set it up right now. You're going to have to take it in box at a time instead of pallets. So we ended up having to carry everything. That was just, it's a nightmare.
Oh, my gosh.
But, 10 years later, we laugh about it. It's one of our good travel stories.
Right. And I think, like, that's what's great about, hardships in travel. Like, they may seem really terrible in the moment, but, like, at the same time, that's sort of like a part of, experience overall. Because if all of your experiences are perfect, there's not a lot of character. You can't really learn much from just perfect experiences, So,
I don't think you'll ever have a perfect experience because you're almost always relying on other people and other outside factors.
Right.
I mean, acts of God, snow, rain, weather,
absolutely.
Airport delays, car breakdowns, all that stuff. That has nothing to do with you. Wait, what made you guys want to write a book? I mean, the 30-Day Travel book, which is out on Amazon. What made you want to write that book?
That's an interesting question. Like basically we had all these travel experiences, and a lot of we heard a lot of people saying, "Oh man, we wish we could do what you do. We wish we could do what you do." Yeah. And we're like, actually, we're not we're really not anybody like special. It was just a matter of how much work you're willing to put in, and or how much you're willing to just try and fail. And we tried and failed so many times. We failed so many times, but eventually we got something right, and it became to something. It took us like almost a decade. But what happened was throughout all those experiences, we wanted to share sort of the path that without all the errors. So we wanted to kind of share that with other people and let them know that, yes, you can do it. After 10 years of trying and failing, here's our path that we came out with. And, letting young people know, especially, that traveling is absolutely possible if you're willing to put in the work to it. And it's not a lot of work. It's just a matter of getting your mindset right and budgeting your costs and picking the right places that can create that feeling of travel that you need. Because a lot of times on social media, you have, this person, so-and-so with 1 million followers just got back from Bali at the, Four Seasons with this and that. And then you're like, oh my gosh, now that is the standard of travel that I need to live up to. Yeah. And the reality is, no, you can get that travel experience from a place in your hometown. Especially somewhere like Los Angeles, there's so many places you can travel within your hometown and get that feeling, that fulfillment of I explored a new culture, I explored a new place. So that's ultimately our goal, was to just share this information and allow people who felt like they were limited from travel to actually live out some of their travel dreams.
Well, I hope my listeners check it out. But I mean, your book kind of actually goes into more detail as far as, meditation, rest, writing memory board or vision boards, and I mean, you guys kind of take it next level there.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times with any endeavor, if you're doing any type of startup or any type of new project, of course I love to get real technical. I like to see the very minute details rather than big picture. But ultimately, it is big picture. I have to continually remind myself. So that's why we do all these types of sort of mental warm-ups. It's getting your mindset right is the ultimate way of starting a new project or starting something new, especially something daunting like travel. Travel can be scary, especially for people who haven't left their hometown or they haven't left the country. I mean, that could be extremely intimidating, or maybe they don't have any exposure to new cultures. So mindset is so important. Meditation is very, very important, especially if you're an intense personality. And then we go through journaling and we would really break it down into 30 days.
Yeah.
30 days is ambitious. It's just the ultimate ambition. So we don't expect everyone to do it in 30 days, but it's sort of piece, little bite-sized morsels of activities that you can do to improve your mindset and get yourself ready to book your travel experience. So that's why we kind of break it down into those things like meditation, and positive thinking.
I can only equate this as some. I would think it would be like, but for like, I know for you, you're a musician, so learning chords and then learning the progressions of them. Mm-hmm. For you, you're very much step by step. That's
true. Yes,
it seems
actually,
like. And even in Muay Thai, I mean, you don't start spinning back kicks. Mm-hmm. It's
right.
Step by step by step by step.
That's actually true. I never really thought of it like that. But yeah, I guess I'm very like I love to get the man. I hate about myself. Like, my boyfriend will be like, oh, here, let me just build it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're not reading the manual? Like, I wave my hands around like a crazy person. So, yeah, I think it does relate to music and you have to take each thing one step at a time to get to the end result. Because if you try to jump the steps, you're going to miss out on a core foundation of, something, whether you face it now or later, it's going to come up and bite you in the butt if you didn't follow those steps, or like building a piece of furniture, if you're like, okay, well, I can kind of get the idea of what it looks like. I'm just going to try and put it together. Then you've got like missing screws, and then you're like, oh man, where does this piece go to, so.
Well, I don't think a lot of people, for me, I mean, I travel all the time. Mm-hmm. So it's not a big deal. But I know there are people, they have their 9-to-5 jobs and they work in their office and they save up and, for their trip. And it's a much bigger deal for them to travel, mm-hmm. But it's interesting that you say that because I think your book can really help people maybe get through some of their fears of traveling, because I like the idea that you're telling them to learn about wherever they're going, watching a movie or going to a conference and talking to other people that maybe have been there. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important to make people feel more comfortable if they're going out of country.
Absolutely. I think like what happens is like if you don't, kind of going off, like not taking things one step at a time, like concepts diving in can be overwhelming. So like, there are so many resources that you have that you can actually access that most people aren't even aware of, like the power of social media. Like they have Facebook groups where these people are all in the same mindset as you, and it's very like support groups are amazing. Like I'm not social, so I like the fact that I could sit behind my screen and have a support group. It's terrible, but like but it's cool too. Like especially if you're a shy person, you can go in and contact some of these groups, and then sometimes they even have, like, Facebook now has added this feature where you can have a mentorship. So if they even offer mentorships, you can connect with somebody, even just ask them, like, hey, let's get on a 15-minute call. Like, I'll send you, or you can send them a gift card or something for their time. Or if they're in your area, you can meet up for coffee and chat with them and then buy them a nice coffee or lunch. And, like, building those connections, and it gets confidence within yourself, and you can learn so much more from somebody who's actually experienced it the same way or more, and so that it's really, really helpful.
But I think the other thing is social media is people my age, the old people, tend to bitch about social media a lot. Kids are wasting their time, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's kind of like anything. It is what you make out of it.
Right.
My wife and I, we roller skate a bunch up and down the Strand.
Oh, cool.
And so we've been roller skating a lot, and we want to go to Tokyo next year. And so we're reaching out to people, roller skating people in Tokyo. We're finding them on Instagram, and hey, when we go there, should we bring them? Should we just rent? But you can find out a whole bunch of things just through social media, just by reaching out to people.
Yeah, that's a super cool, because especially if you have like a very niche like interest, and just trying to go, if you went to and booked a trip and just said, well, we're just going to wing it, it can be fun, it can be an awesome experience, but social media, you could literally, like, especially for roller skating, you could search roller skating rinks on Instagram, click on their location, and then you could see different images of people who went to that same place, and then you could like reach out to them. I mean, the world, like the capabilities of networking on social media is absolutely incredible. And yeah, I can understand why some older people would be like, okay, this is crazy. Like, this is way too much. And I respect that too, because, you know, before social media, you had to do everything on your own. And like for me, you know, when you do something on your own, there's more gratification of the process, I guess, versus when things come, you know, so easy to people. Like I feel like maybe they don't appreciate the process as much. But I think at the same time, you can take advantage of the tools if they're there. So yeah, social media can be a huge tool for people to, you know, meet different people and find different experiences and discover stuff about areas that you want to travel to.
But I also think, you know, for me, living in the Los Angeles area, mm-hmm. It's given me a unique perspective on social media people, because when I talk to people around different parts of the country and all that, mm-hmm. they're like, man, social media. I'm like, I go, my next door neighbor who recently moved out is a social media influencer. He has like, I think 400,000 followers. He's a makeup tutorial guy.
Wow.
So his boyfriend would record him doing the makeup, mm-hmm. and then Ulta would pay him $2,000 for a video.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and he's got product. He's got his own product in Sephora, and the kid's 20 years old.
Oh wow! Oh,
he's never
amazing.
had a job.
That's
other
incredible.
Than, yeah. So you know, you tell somebody that's in their 50s. You know, when I grew up, mom, dad said, get a good education, work mm-hmm. hard, do the right thing, and you'll get by. Mm-hmm. And now there's people that are making makeup tutorial videos, making more than people that are working hard. So.
It's insane. And I know there's a lot of fear when you have it's kind of cool and weird at the same time, but there is a lot of fear that is involved with that, because you're like, well, a lot of people say, well, what's going to happen to that kid if Instagram dies tomorrow, and then his entire business model is completely destroyed, and he might
figure it out.
Yeah, but I think that's exactly it. That's exactly it. He's going to figure it out because he was able to create a business out of something. Then he's going to be able to apply those skills that he learned to something else. So I think it's a new world that's opening up opportunities for people all over the globe, and new types of markets are opening up. So I like the excitement of it. I like how it's the wild, wild west. And, you know.
Look at the music industry and how much that's changed.
Oh, yes.
You know, I mean, I have a friend who's in a band, and they were doing really well when they first came out. God, I want to say it was 2000. Oh, shoot, dating myself. Let's see, 2002, 2003, 2004, and they were on Ozfest and they were touring. And guess what? Their lead singer quit.
Wow.
Lead singer quit.
Oh no.
Because people had told him that he could do it on his own. He didn't need the band. Mm-hmm. So now my buddy, who's the drummer, is a drummer of a band with no singer. So they have to, you know, go out and get a new singer. Well, are they going to do new songs? Are they going to sing the old songs? Mm-hmm. You know, 15 years later, he's still on tour. But because if you don't tour as a musician, you don't make money.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, that's the hard part. I always thought I'm on the road about 110 to 120 days a year mm-hmm. for my work.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, mm-hmm. That's a lot. And then I talked to a musician. He's a rockabilly singer. Mm-hmm. He's been a professional singer, never had a job outside of singing for 30 years.
Wow.
He's on the road 275 days a year.
Woo!
9 months a year he's on the road.
Wow. That's amazing.
But that's the price he's chosen to not mm-hmm. want to do multiple things. He just wants to be a singer.
Right. Yeah, and there's tons of people in the music industry. There was a little bit something that I got a little bit scared of, because, you know, I actually played with a band that was put together by the Misfits. So they put together this, like, girl band. So we had all these girls from all over the country come in and audition. And then we toured with them, like, on 34 dates. I think that was crazy. That was probably one of the craziest stories in terms of, like, output performance. Like, we were, like, playing 6 days in a row, and we'd have one day off and do 6 or 7 days in a row. And, like, you know, we were waking up in a different like at one point, the girls always made fun of me because they're like, oh, and I woke up and I was like, are we in Washington? And we're like, no, we're in Maryland. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where we are anymore. So yeah, it's wild, and there's just some excitement about it. But I can imagine that after 30 years of, you know, being on the road, you know, 9 months out of the year, that's tough. But I guess, you know, you adapt it as your way of life and your reality, and then you just keep moving forward. But that's amazing.
That's a bit much, even for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, wow. I know some corporate guys that are on the road about 210 days.
Oh.
I'm like, God, Lord.
That's a lot, man. You know, it's funny. I never really thought of it like that. But, you know, when you're traveling for business, you could really be out there. Like, I didn't even know they would be out there for 210 days that long. That's kind of why I started the podcast. Was I was meeting all these people, you know, professional cowboys. That's I sell cowboy boots and jeans and all that. That's what I do for a living. And so I met some of these cowboys, and they're in the same boat as me. I mean, a lot of them live in Texas, and if they have to take their horses, their trailers, their trucks, all that to Wyoming or Oregon or where, if they don't place and do well up there, they don't make any money. Oof.
So that'd be like you going on your band, going, hey, we're going to go to, you know, let's take all of our gear and everything, load up and go to Denver. And if the owner says we suck, we don't make any money.
Oh yeah, that's happened. That's happened to us. That actually happened.
Wasn't supposed to though.
Yeah, it makes you a better person, and it makes you understand the reality and of what you're doing and how, you know, because that was actually our first tour date ever with my band Nylon Pink. We traveled out to oh my gosh, I can't even remember what it was called, but it was this college town. And we had 3 dates booked with this place. They have us like put up in a basement with flies. It was the craziest thing. It was like gnarly. Drove all the way out there in Ohio somewhere, I think. And the first day we bombed it. Like they were like, this is the worst thing that we ever seen. So they fired us for the last 2 days. And they didn't even let us stay in the place, so we had to live in the van for the last 2 days and missed out on like $2,000. It was terrible. I was like, oh my God! Like, and that was our very first tour date on that tour. So we're like, we need to get our shit together, basically. Like, it was definitely a reality check.
My buddy, I was telling you about the drummer. The third lead singer that they hired, they went on tour. And I saw they played, you know, they were playing the Whiskey and some of the local places. And then he said, I called him up. I said, I thought you were on tour. He goes, oh, well, we had because all of a sudden I started seeing his post and he was at home. And he's from Bakersfield. And I'm like, I go, what are you doing at home? He goes, well, Bobby quit in the middle of the tour, the lead singer.
No.
He goes, so Dave, who's the guitarist, ended up singing some of the songs, but some of the places said since we didn't have a singer, they weren't going to pay us and let us perform. So they just had to come home.
Gosh. Wow.
The guy said he had never been on tour before. He didn't realize that he didn't like it, and he just walked out. Literally left a note.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Like, you know, it's funny because that actually happened to us too. It's on, like, we had so what happened was our lead singer, she decided to step down and do more of the business and booking. So we were auditioning several different lead singers to take up the spot, and I was singing backup vocals also. And we auditioned this girl. She was great. Everything was good. We played a couple shows in LA. Then we went out on that tour where we broke down 6 times. It was awful. And she got caught up. She was supposed to catch a flight back so she could perform with her band and then come back to wherever we were in like Tennessee or something. And she just didn't come back. And, and I was like, oh, so we had 3 days to basically learn all of the songs, and I ended up singing the rest of the tour. It was, I hope hope there are no videos on the internet of that, because that was the craziest thing I'd ever done. Like, and then we were doing like 2 90-minute sets, so we'd have to do like 50 songs, and yeah, we're not like, we're not a wedding band type. Like we had a very specific kind of show, but they were requiring so much music, and it was absolutely insane, terrible. But somehow we got through. But barely, but we made it through somehow.
Yeah, but see, now you have these wonderful stories.
It's true, and I ended up singing. Yeah, exactly. Gosh, I can look back and be like, we could have changed this and that, but that's okay.
That's the way it goes.
Exactly.
What are you expecting out of the podcast, and why are you starting that up?
Oh, so after all these experiences, playing in music is crazy, because you basically kind of have to drink. I mean, that was my mentality, at least. Like, there are some gnarly times, and I'm laughing now, but there were some times where it was tough. And, you start drinking, or you go and play a show, and then everyone wants to buy you drinks. It's kind of like a part of the culture. So we partied like crazy people. And what happened was, after the show ends, you come home and you still have that like rock star mentality, like, yeah, let's keep going. And then you start becoming an alcoholic. And unfortunately, Kyle and I, we discovered our terrible addiction to, boozing it up and partying. So recently I actually picked up Muay Thai. That's why didn't even know I was going to be sober, but I was like, oh, I love Muay Thai, let's try it. And then that ended up being my next passion, fortunately, aside from boozing. So basically,
getting hit in the face hungover sucks.
Oh, absolutely. It's a real thing. Like, a lot of people, they start fighting and they're like, oh, I can punch people. It's like, no, it's not about punching people. It's about how can you take the hit. But nobody wants to get hit in the face hungover. So I ended up cleaning up, realized how bad it was. And then, Kyle and I have these plethora of stories of all kinds of experiences. And we wanted to share, basically, for those who are thinking about getting sober or thinking about cleaning up, or some opportunities for them to listen in on our stories and look for different wellness treatments across the globe, and different ways to sort of like revive your body from all the damage that's been done.
Yeah.
So that's basically our aim, and we're pretty raw and pretty unfiltered on there. So it's going to be a party for sure.
Do you? I guess what I've heard is, some people are auditory, some people are visual, some people need to read. So you've done the books, you've done the videos, and now it seems like the podcast being the audio end of it. It's just
exactly, yeah. And podcasting is first. We just did our first 4 episodes, and we're like, man, we love this. Like, it's such a strange thing. Like, podcasting is, I think there's something more intimate about it. Like, you're having real conversations with people, almost as if you're talking on a phone with an old friend. So it's definitely our new passion for sure. And we've done videos, we've done music, we've done all kinds of stuff. But now, we're diving back into the audio world. So we're pretty stoked on it.
Are you going to transcribe them and put them into your blogs, or?
Oh, yeah. We've got all the transcriptions will be there. We've recorded most of them for video too, but we'll probably just keep it mostly audio, just show little teaser clips here and there of the video. But yeah, we're also recording videos of all of them as well.
That's what I need to do next.
Yeah, you could even just set up your iPhone, plop it up right there, and then just kind of like film it,
For me, because I interview, and the negative of what I do is I interview people that travel for work. So a lot of times they're traveling for work.
True.
And the comment I've heard from some of my guests is, man, I'm glad this is audio, so I don't have to doll myself up or,
Oh, what?
So we can just chat on the phone.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I did a podcast interview, like when I was in the recording studio, because I still play music here and there. And I play with one of my good friends right now, and we were at a recording studio, and in life, it's real, I don't really wear makeup, but I look like, like
in real life.
I know it's so terrible like they're like, oh my god, no, I'm like, I just hang out, and I thought it was an audio only, and then I get onto the podcast interview, and he puts the video on, and it was too late, it was just already happening, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the studio, and like there's like the lighting's like, fluorescent overhead, I'm looking like a ghost, and I was like, oh, this is my life now, here we are.
I had no idea though.
I do actually quite appreciate that I could be my normal self and be more comfortable on the radio.
It's always the women that have said that to me.
Oh, really?
I'm so glad I didn't have to get dressed up or makeup up for this.
Exactly. See,
I'm
yeah.
Like, hey.
So in a way, it's good. You might have something good going without the video, actually.
Yeah. I met Lewis Howes, who does a lot of podcasts, and I was a guest on his show.
Awesome.
And, yeah, it was very cool, and he said I should do video. So I'm like, God damn it.
Oh, he's a pretty big heavy hitter, so it might be cool to try it, but you could, I guess, just warn the ladies in advance.
Maybe the guys. I'll start with the guys.
Yes.
We tend to require less makeup, at least.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, and I don't know how it's set up, but you should keep playing with the Vigil of War People.
Oh yeah, I honestly, like, actually Alicia, the lead singer and the creator of the band, we played in the Misfits band together, and she's like my sister in arms. She's so awesome. I love that entire group. We actually just played Warped Tour in the last Warped Tour of all time, which is actually pretty disheartening because I remember as a kid, I was like into Warped Tour, like, checking out all the bands. I never got a chance to go, but and then at the time we had a drummer. Or our drummer is the drummer from Good Charlotte. So he did, Warped Tour from the dawn of time. So it was the very last Warped Tour, and they're closing everything down. So it was kind of like an awesome hoorah, but simultaneously a little bit sad, It's like the end of an era, But
I know that is. Yeah. It's kind of weird to think that. I mean, that's always been around.
It's always been around. It's like, it's really, to me, because guitar, is so important to me. Like, and I can't imagine why people, like, I walked into Guitar Center the other day. Oh, this made me so sad. I was trying to buy an audio interface real quick for our podcast because mine apparently in 2010 doesn't fit the new iOS on Mac anymore. So I was like, oh my gosh, that drives me nuts. And I was like, I need to go. So I ran over to Guitar Center and I walk in. And everything in the front is DJ equipment. And I'm like, where are all the guitars? Where are the drums? It's all gone. It's so sad. I mean, not all, it's reduced drastically. And then they put all the DJ stuff in the front. So that was a little sad little moment as well.
That's just sad. Yeah. It's just the way it's going.
Yeah.
I mean, I know my daughter makes music and all off. I mean, she plays the piano. She reads, she can read sheet music, and she played the drums in middle school, and then she wanted to do it in high school. But then the marching band they started way too early.
Oh yeah.
Their practice was like at 6 a.m. And she's like, God, I'm not playing the drums at 6 a.m. And but she can do music. She has a keyboard that she can plug into her Mac. Mm-hmm. And so she'll do a lot of the piano arrangement, and then she'll just garage band off that.
That's amazing.
She doesn't need.
Yeah, you don't need the whole thing. You don't need all the instruments, and I think that's also cool because it allows, I love the idea of everybody, the best of the best, get the ability to create something and then create the best type of thing, and like I think maybe sometimes. Also kind of like traveling is like when you pick up an instrument, it can be daunting. It requires 10 years of practice to master. But if you have an ability to, maybe you have an innate ability to create music and you just want to like test it out and see what you can make. I love the idea of like DAW softwares where you can just plug in your like a MIDI keyboard into your computer and then produce a song. I'm totally all about it. I love that. Well, and it allows people to play, to create music if they didn't necessarily learn the traditional way.
The other thing is, I always, because people have said, oh, yes, because I have a lot of musician friends, and they're always like, well, it's not purist. And I'm like, okay. Well, why don't you go on tour without your cell phone?
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
You used to do it.
Exactly.
You'd buy a map. You'd
buy a map.
You'd buy a payphone and find out and call the airport and see if your plane's on time.
100%. That's awesome. I love that.
Technology's there. I mean, it's I don't know. People can complain about I watched the thing on I don't know if you ever saw the documentary on Dave Grohl bought Sound Studio, Sound City, and that's where, I mean, it's in the valley near Northridge, and I think it's either Burbank or Van Nuys, right? Not, it wouldn't be Burbank, it'd be more Van Nuys. And it's where Fleetwood Mac Rumor was recorded. Nirvana, the original Nirvana was recorded there. I mean, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and it was all in this I think a 2-inch tape or 1.5-inch tape. And Neil Young and all these guys were saying, hey, there's nothing like recording on tape. You can do it, but you're still going to do it on digital. And he actually, Dave Grohl bought that I forget the console, and put it in his house for his own studio.
Oh, wow.
And that thing is 15 feet wide, and it's a real studio at home. Yeah,
I bet. And that's crazy too. Like, those home studios. That's where it's at now. I mean, obviously you can, if you're digital, you can have a massive, like, super duper, like, tricked out one. But that's insane. It's that whole industry too. Because I used to work randomly. When I was trying to find myself, I lived in Korea and worked for a music startup out there, and they were creating a DAW software where you could just type the music in with a keyboard and create music. So I was, then they sent me to San Francisco, so I was pitching to Universal Audio, which seemed a little bit Universal Audio was the first time I'd ever been to a place like that. It was like all of my high school childhood dreams were coming true, and they, like, you could see all of the original analog recording equipment, and like they had like a 40 track tape deck, and it was just like this beast machine that looked like it could build cars or something. I mean, obviously the pitch didn't go that great because they're like, well, this is completely contradictory of what we do. He's like, but I could give you a tour. I was like, yeah.
You're like, heck yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'll take a tour over the pitch, sure, why not? But it was a little bit, it's like nostalgic, but kind of sad that, to see things change too. But at the same time,
Well, like I said, you'll always be able to play your instruments.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever going to say, in order to make music, you need to get rid of instruments.
Right.
That just like you can travel without your phone.
Exactly.
But if you have a choice, you're going to travel with it. So I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. And it's basically the adapt or die. I mean, that's really what it is. Not to be harsh, but like, if the tool is there, why not use it? Make it, be the best version of yourself, and try things and allow yourself to grow with it.
Trent Reznor talks about that from Nine Inch Nails. He actually talks about it on that documentary. And,
nice.
He goes, I don't use it as the vehicle. I use it as another tool. To me, it's just another guitar or another drum set. It's just another tool. It's not.
Yeah. So. That is cool to see it like a different instrument in itself, because it essentially is.
Yeah, but when your guitarist doesn't want to tour anymore, you don't have to replace her.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh man, so fun.
Well, how much traveling do you foresee for 2020 with everything you got going on the podcast? You're still doing a little music. What's your next intensity going to take you to?
As of now, it's always a random thing, because when you get a travel opportunity to write, it's kind of like, are you ready to go in a week? Kind of like that, and then you don't know if you got it until that week before. So as of now, like we kind of like to keep it at a rule as travel once like, 7 days out of the month and once a month. That's kind of like what we like to
got
do.
you.
Yeah, we don't like, both of us like having a home base, and being able to like come back to that home. So we have a lot of friends that just love, they don't even have a house, and they just travel to the place and then they go to the next place.
Random, yeah.
And it's amazing. But we kind of like to come back home and recalibrate and then be sent off to our next venture. But as of now, I've got Thailand in the foreseeable future, and I want to go train a little bit there. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, I was like, I want to get the real McCoy out there. So
it's going to get real for you over there. They don't play around.
Oh, they do not. I'm ready to get beat up. So that sounds really awful, actually.
No, but that's good that you're saying that.
Yeah, I need to learn the real way. Like I'm just very curious about the tradition. I had friends that wanted me to go down to Brazil because I was doing Jujitsu for a lot of years. Oh, really?
And I'm like, I'm not taking the trip down to Rio.
Oof. Jiu-Jitsu is gnarly. But that's like the ultimate. I think Jiu-Jitsu is like one of the most effective martial arts in terms of like, if you're in danger. You see MMA, and then most of the submissions are done when someone's on the floor getting like, like I have to tap out. It's like, yeah, you'll get the knockouts here and there, but in real life, you definitely want to be able to like squiggle your way out of the situation versus like slapping your hands around and potentially breaking your hands or whatnot. So.
Well, I always looked at it. Well, I wrestled growing up, so.
Oh, nice.
The close combat was nothing too unusual for me, but I think Muay Thai is really good for distance, and then obviously Jiu-Jitsu is when there's no more distance. Right. Yeah, the two together. I tried Jiu-Jitsu, but I get the heebie-jeebies when like someone bends my arm back. Oh God. Yeah. Well, that's not good then. Like, oh my gosh, that makes me sweat thinking about it. Ooh. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I was like, I don't want to be in that situation anymore. But I'll knee you to the face, no problem. Yeah, exactly. But as soon as my arm gets a little bent, I'm like, Wait till you go to. We'll see how you feel when you come back from Thailand. Right. Yeah, I might come back a different person. You never know. The fighters that I've met and trained, like I started. My first instructor was Hoist Gracie, who won the first, third, and fourth UFCs, and so he would always have fighters that would come in and train, and they talk about Thailand, and training Muay Thai over there is real. Yeah, that'd be fun for you, and you can still do the podcast remotely if you had to. Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that's what's great about podcasting. It's like, you can do it anywhere in the world, and as long as you got your gear, I'm so excited to venture into the podcast world. I've recorded them in my car. I've had guests driving their car. No way, really? Casey Patterson, who's an Olympic volleyball player, he was getting ready for the AVP championships in Hawaii, but he was doing he injured his back, so he goes, man, I'm really busy, but I'd love to talk to you, but can we talk while I'm in the car? And I go, yeah, as long as the audio is good. Wow. And, it turned out pretty well, actually. That's amazing. And I've gotten calls like, hey, I can't do it later, but I can do it right now. Do you have time? And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm sitting in my car. I'm driving on the 5 freeway in the middle of nowhere. So let me pull over. Thanks. Sitting in my car and recording it. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, if you think about it, the car is almost like a sound box. You've got that like a lot of people love to sing in the car because they've got like all that absorption of like the cotton or whatever. I guess if you have leather. The only negative, and I'll give you a little tip. It's also a heat box. Oh, because I don't want any noise coming in. I've done 2 recently from sitting in my car, and it's been warm outside. Now I know how dogs feel when they get locked in the car. Oh, I see. Oh, no. Because it's like, holy shit, I can't breathe. Here. Who was I talking to? Man. Jesse Wuji, he was a NASCAR driver. And his agent forgot to tell him, and the agent's calling me saying, "Man, I'm sorry, it's my fault. Jesse can do it right now." I'm like, "Fuck." I'm driving, so I pull over. I get, and there's cars and there's traffic, so I got to leave the windows rolled up. It was like 85 degrees outside. It's in the summertime, and I literally was dripping inside my car.
Oh no!
And I'm like, "Hey, Jesse, how's everything going?" I literally had sweat dripping off into my car.
Oh my god!
Because I was like, I didn't want the noise from the traffic.
Yeah. Well, at least you didn't have the video going. That would have been gnarly. See, that's when it's beneficial for sure.
no video for that one. That's absolutely true. But I'm sure I did one with Angela Ruck. She's a NASCAR driver, and she was on the way to the hospital for her adopted son to be born.
Oh wow!
And she goes, "This is the only time I have," and she had to reschedule it because of everything that was going on.
Oh my gosh!
She was literally out of the way.
That's kind of exciting. So you have like a little. Wow, that's
what I told her. I said, "You can keep this podcast." I mean, she does hundreds and hundreds of interviews, but none will be on the morning of.
Yeah.
We're going.
And hey, you got to hand it to her. That is dedication to sticking to the schedule.
Yeah, and that was, for me, that was 6 in the morning. It was 9 a.m. her time.
Wow.
And she gave me the time, like, done, let's do it.
Wow.
I woke up and doing it in the dark in my room.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't want to wake up my wife, so. You'll have a lot of fun experiences, though.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
But when you go to Thailand, or when you're taking longer trips, I've been asking my guests this: how do you fill up your time? Is it listen to music? Is it podcast? Is it video? Is it work? Are you doing?
Oh, that's a good question. Like when traveling on long flights?
Yeah, you're on a 12-hour flight to Thailand, or 15-hour or 20-hour flight.
Right. So it's crazy. As insane madness that I am, I, for some inexplicable reason, fall asleep instantaneously with anything with a motor. It's the wackest thing ever. It's been crazy. Like, so I sleep. Like one time, I just flew from Korea like a couple weeks ago, and it was like a 14-hour flight, and I slept through the whole thing. I don't even sleep 14 hours. I sleep about 5 or 6 hours a day, and for some reason, it's just that noise of the rumbling,
the white noise hum, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then like I stick a little earplugs in, and it's just like little like happy vibrations, and I'm just like out. I could barely even wake up for the food. I'm the worst. Like, I wish I could take that time to work, because like I could use an extra 14 hours in the day, but I'm like, oh no, here we go.
I'm so jealous. My oldest is like that.
Oh, really?
I swear to God, she'll get in, and before we take off, she's asleep.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? And then like when we drive, it's the same way. Like, we used to go on big camping trips, and she'd basically wake me up when we get there. I'm like, this sucks, man. I got an 8-hour drive. She's gonna sleep for 7.5 of it. She'll wake up to go to the bathroom.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's crazy. And I guess my parents, they told me, when we were kids, like tiny babies. My brother's only like a year and a half older than me, so we would cry, and so they would put us in the car and drive around, and apparently that's what made us fall asleep. So I think
just got used to it.
Yeah, and I think, it just like inherently became a thing, became my subconscious or something.
That's awesome, though. I mean, like I said, I'm completely envious of that. When I'd fly, the only time I've ever done that is I went to Chicago right after I turned 21, and the bars there on High Street don't shut down, basically.
Oh wow!
And so I laid one on, because I'm like, well, my flight's at 6:30. I'll just stay up and party. And I got on the plane in Chicago, and I woke up in L.A.
Oh, there you go.
I was like, wow, that was quick. I was like,
great.
Jets and transport. I literally woke up and went, oh my God, how'd that happen?
Yeah. Oof.
So you don't do anything, you just sleep. I like that.
Yeah. It's bad, because I know I could take advantage of that time, but I can't even stay up. I like, even if I wanted to, something about it just conks me out immediately.
You're my first guest I got to write that down. She sleeps. I thought, hey, whatever works.
Yeah.
What's the best way for my listeners to follow you and stay in touch with you and see what's going on in the world of Kiki?
Well, I guess you could check out the podcast. It's called From Hell to Wellness. So, and it certainly was hell. It was a good kind of hell, the fun kind, I guess. But yes, from helltowellness.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at Kiki Wongo.
Kiki Wongo.
Yeah.
That throws me off, actually. It's Kiki Wong, but.
Right. Yeah. My real name is actually Kristen. I got the Kiki Wongo, came from like a high school teacher. Thought it was a funny name, so nicknamed me Kiki Wongo, and it's just kind of stuck throughout the band and the music. But now it's Kiki Wong.
Funny.
Yeah, it's crazy. So if you look up Kiki Wongo, you'll see all the crazy band stuff. If you look up Kiki Wong, you'll see all the author. It's like different little phases of life.
Well, that happens. My oldest, her name is Michaela, and we called her Kyla, but her high school lacrosse coach and her teammates called her Maku.
Maku.
They called
cool.
her. It was Makuku.
Makuku.
Because she's crazy.
That's cool. That's a cool name, though. I like all the names,
So she goes by. If you say Maku, she's on it. She responds exactly to it.
I love it. That's awesome.
It's funny. Many years later, I had a coach at. We had too many Peters on the football team, so he called me Pedro for a year.
Oh, do you still respond to Pedro?
Oh yeah. wait. You get yelled at enough for 1 year. You respond to it.
It's ingrained, yeah.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate the time, Kiki. Man, I can't wait to keep following and see what you got coming up and listen to your music. And the podcast is going to be a kick.
Oh yeah, it's wild. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was super fun.
So appreciate it. Enjoy the holidays. And the podcast is starting December 5th. December
5th. Yep, that's when we drop it. So.
Okay. I'll make sure I put that out because this will air I think December 2nd. So.
Oh, look. Oh, we might have changed it. Not sure, but yeah, December 5th.
No. My podcast with you right now is going to air. December 2nd.
Oh, perfect. Awesome.
So,
Yay.
Yay. Days before.
Cool. Sounds
there
good.
you go.
Yay! Can't wait.
Thank you again, and have a great holidays.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
All right, Kiki. Bye-bye.
Bye.